What if I told you Ricky Nelson didn't die by fate, but because someone covered up a disaster waiting to happen? Imagine a fragile 8-year-old battling severe asthma, thrust onto the radio waves and TV screens of post-war America. That was young Eric Hilliard Nelson, born May 8, 1940, in Teaneck, New Jersey, who by 1949 was appearing with his family on The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. He wasn't just a child actor, he became a staple in millions of homes, his shy, introspective charm resonating through the radio and later television sets. But behind the wholesome facade, something electric was stirring. Ricky wasn't content playing second fiddle. By 16, he was mimicking rockabilly heroes in his bedroom, hauling himself into studio sessions with session pros, and demanding more. In March 1957, under his father's wing, he recorded a double-sided single, Fats Domino's I'm Walkin', backed with A Teenager's Romance. He debuted on TV, drums blazing, and the response was seismic. Teens screamed, America listened. Within weeks, he hit number 4 on Billboard, proof Ricky Nelson was more than TV's kid. He was rock and roll's teenage hero. He followed up with Bebop Baby, smashing through 1 million sales, and the album Ricky topped charts. By 1958, his voice on tracks like Poor Little Fool claimed the new Billboard Hot 100's first number 1, ushering not just a song, but a cultural moment. He wasn't borrowed fame, he was a self-made star born in a family dynasty, but racing ahead on his own terms. But Ricky didn't settle. In an era when teen idols were pumped and posed, he crafted his own rock and roll identity. He ditched surging orchestras for a band of peers, recruiting teenage guitar prodigy James Burton and a tight-knit backing group. He traded sanitized pop for rockabilly heat, playing gigs with fire in his voice and pain in his eyes. And when TV audiences hit the off button, he took it in stride. By 1961, he officially dropped the Y from Ricky and ushered in a sharper, older persona, Rick Nelson. His music matured too. Hits like Hello Mary Lou and Travelin' Man didn't just land in the top 10 domestically, they conquered charts overseas, blending sweet melodies with rock star swagger. But what sets him apart isn't the records, it's the reinvention. While others leaned into their bubblegum image, he leaned into authenticity. He pushed himself to evolve, not just age. The teen idol who could croon to mom and dad's generation became the artist who spoke to souls, his own and ours. Picture this, October 1971, Madison Square Garden. Ricky Nelson, now Rick, takes the stage with his fresh Stone Canyon band sound. But instead of cheers, he's hit with boos. Fans had come for classics like Poor Little Fool, not the gritty country rock he was channeling. Rick felt the sting, and it changed everything. Backstage, he loops on a monitor trying to decide should he stick with the new material or pivot to the hits. When he returned, he played the old favorites to tame the crowd. But that moment sparked a voice inside him, loud and stubborn. You can't please everyone, so you've got to please yourself. That line became the chorus of Garden Party, a defiant, autobiographical firestorm that shot to number 6 on Billboard in 1972. His first top 10 hit in nearly a decade. It wasn't just a song, it was a declaration. Rick Nelson was no puppet of nostalgia. He was an evolving artist, refusing to fit into a box, and that raw honesty? It hooked listeners who craved something real, something rebellious amid a wave of pop. Suddenly, he wasn't just a comeback kid. He was a pioneer, proving that authenticity beats expectation every time. Pop star turned country rock maverick, Rick didn't chase trends. He defined them. In 1969, he built the Stone Canyon Band around vision and virtuosity. Randy Meisner on bass, who'd helped found the Eagles. Tom Brumley on steel guitar, plus sharp players like Alan Kemp and Pat Shanahan. They didn't just play music, they rewrote Rick's identity. The 1969 live album In Concert at the Troubadour was a wake-up call, raw, gritty, authentic, echoing Dylan's influence and Rick's own fierce musical instincts. He covered Dylan's "She Belongs to Me," hit the top 40, and cemented his street cred as a real musician, not just a nostalgic idol. Behind the scenes, they were crafting more than songs. They were forging a movement. Critics might have shrugged, but the record sleeves and stage lights didn't lie. In 1974, Windfall hit US album charts. Honest, powerful proof that Rick had helped spark the California country rock wave that reshaped American music. Stone Canyon wasn't a backup band. They were soulmates in sound. Randy Meisner said it. "We had all the ingredients for a country rock band, tending more toward the rock and roll side. This wasn't reinvention. It was reclamation." It's April 1963. Ricky Nelson, now Rick, says "I do" to Kristen Chris Harmon in a wedding that reads like a Hollywood fairy tale. Chris wasn't just anyone. She was the daughter of Heisman-winning football star Tom Harmon and actress Elise Knox. For fans, it looked like destiny, two legacy families merging under the spotlights. Together, they'd have 4 kids, Tracy, Gunnar, Matthew, and Sam, 3 of them following in Dad's footsteps. At first, the family portrait shimmered, but behind closed doors, the demands of fame and touring chipped at their foundation. Chris was swamped by kids and cameras. Rick's restless heart craved the road, the studio, his art. Rumors started flowing, emotional distance, infidelity whispers. The pressure cooker of celebrity crackled. By 1982, after nearly 20 years together, their shattered marriage finalized in court, custody battles, financial strain, and media gossip laying bare their fall from grace. For Rick, the divorce wasn't just personal. It seeped into his music. You can hear it in his voice, a healing ache, a defiant edge, an artist trying to turn breakup pain into raw inspiration. His later tracks dripped with melancholy that resonated with anyone who's ever loved and lost under the public eye. Picture December 31st, 1985. Rick Nelson, chart legend, TV star, country rock pioneer, boards a DC-3, bound for a New Year's Eve show in Dallas. With his new fiancée, Helen Blair, and 5 band members, the small plane rises into the night sky, full of hope, laughter, and decades of legacy. But halfway through the flight, something terrible happens. A hidden cabin fire erupts. No alarms, no fire extinguisher, just smoke, panic, chaos. The pilots survive. Everyone else doesn't. Initial wake of crash speculation pointed to heater failure. Tabloids exploded with scandal. Drug use, sabotage, even foul play. But toxicology reports? Negative. Nothing but noise. Roll forward decades. Aviation historians dig into maintenance logs. Pilots revisit the wreckage. What they find is horrifying. The heater, a jury-rigged disaster tucked beneath the cabin floor, had been repeatedly warned about, never properly fixed, and still flown. The cabin lacked fire-retardant insulation, and no extinguisher was in sight. In those final minutes, the band and Rick didn't stand a chance. They weren't victims of fate. They were victims of human neglect. A dream flight turned nightmare because someone didn't do the work. And when the smoke cleared, the truth didn't just answer questions. It shattered hearts. After the crash, stories ran wild. Was it drugs? Sabotage? Foul play? But toxicology tests ruled out drugs. The real clues were hidden in the smoke. The cabin fire started near the floorboards under the rear seats, just where a jury-rigged heater sat, notorious for overheating. Co-pilot Kenneth Ferguson admitted he was nervous about that heater. He repeatedly refused to switch it back on, even as Captain Rank toggled it multiple times to troubleshoot, despite warning lamps lighting up. Moments before disaster, Rank reportedly said to Ferguson, "Don't tell anyone about the heater." Those chilling words echoed the hush of the negligence they'd known. The smoke thickened fast. NTSB records reveal neither extinguisher was used, nor was the in-flight fire checklist followed. Carbon monoxide and toxic fumes overtook the cabin in seconds. pilots survived by crawling through cockpit windows, but the passengers, they never had a chance. Despite desperate efforts to reach a nearby strip, the DC-3 crash-landed in a Texan pasture at exactly 1714 Sinstromstans Trash. The blazing wreckage left no survivors from the cabin. Ricky Nelson, his fiancée Helen Blair, and 5 band members perished, not in an unavoidable accident, but in a tragedy born of willful ignorance and reckless shortcuts. In the weeks after the crash, accusations flew. Rumors of freebase cocaine use ran rampant. Yet the NTSB shattered that narrative. No cocaine or paraphernalia was found at the scene, and those traces reported were from other passengers, not Ricky or his band. The agency confirmed the fire was mechanical, not criminal, but the bigger truth lay hidden in maintenance logs and testimonies. The DC-3's cabin heater had failed before, multiple times. Warnings were ignored. Smoke detectors and extinguishers were nowhere to be found in the aft cabin. Survivors revealed pilots never followed fire emergency checklists, failing to shut vents or use the extinguisher that was in the cockpit. In short, it wasn't fate, it was neglect. The NTSB bluntly concluded that improper maintenance and failure to act were at the heart of the tragedy. Ricky's death wasn't a mystery. It was a preventable failure, masked for years by gossip and grit. Ricky Nelson defied expectations throughout his life, but in the end, he fell victim to the very system meant to protect him. It's a cruel twist. The spotlight revealed his talent, but the darkness of negligence cut his story short. So what does his story teach us about trust, responsibility, and the price of fame? Let me know what you think below.